Y'all ready?
Fish Stripes live on a Friday evening, later Friday evening than usual, as the Marlins are out in Mountain Time in Colorado, facing off against the Colorado Rockies for a weekend set. I'm Ethan Badowski, as always, joined by Isaac Azut, Kevin Barral, and Alex Carver. Looking forward to another series where the Marlins just learning a lot about the guys that are on the roster right now. I think that's kind of the point where we're at in the Marlins season. And I want to get started by talking about this Mets series where Noah was the only one of us that said, Noah, who can't join us tonight, that said the Marlins were going to do any better than a split. He called 3 of 4. We all laughed at him, and congratulations, Noah. You were spot on. The Marlins go and take 3 of 4 from the rival Mets, and really quite an impressive series. I mean, you had Lewis Brinson stepping up with a bunch of big hits. Isan Diaz is hitting the ball well. I think we all are liking what we're seeing from Brian De La Cruz. So yes, shockingly, Noah Berger was right. Yeah. And Isaac, I'll start with you. What were your sort of impressions as we get into this later season and the way the Marlins have been playing?
Well, it was a great series, man. Taking 3 out of 4 against the Mets, a bunch of positives that we'll definitely dive into for sure, including Brinson, including Isan. One of the negatives, though, that I did want to bring up really quickly was, the defense. And I think that ever since the All-Star break, I don't know what has happened, that it's just sort of, they've been lacking. Maybe since it coincides with Don Mattingly being gone, but everybody in the infield made an error this series. PA, Jazz, Rojas, it was not a good series defensively. Alex Jackson had a pass ball, I believe. So that's something that definitely need to nip in the bud a little bit, because this is, a pitching-centric team, and when you're giving up free base runners like that, there's nothing more deflating, than getting guys on for the other team. So that's definitely something I want to see improved for sure. But other than that, a phenomenal series. Taking 3 out of 4, the bats woke up, and the pitching was great. It was a great series for sure.
Yeah, I think we can get into a discussion about Jazz's defense later, because this is something that I've seen talked about a lot recently. Just, 20 errors on the year now. It's been a struggle. He's obviously been bouncing back and forth between positions. I want to get into that a little later, but I'm going to continue on, recapping this Mets series a little bit. Kevin, what were your overall takeaways that you saw?
Some new guys showed up. Somehow Lewis Brinson hit a grand slam. He had himself a series. Brian De La Cruz, I think, is impressing us little by little. Alex Jackson had a home run, some good pitching performances. It was a good series overall. We took 3 or 4 from the Mets. Javi Baez struck out 5 times in one game, so it's a lot to talk about there from the Mets. It was a good series overall. Marlins just learning little by little more about themselves, and it looks like this young team now, because it's no longer a team filled with a lot of veterans and a couple of young guys. It's mainly a young team, so this team's really just exciting the fans. And once Jesus comes back, which we saw the news today, he's going to Jacksonville, if I'm correct, to Jupiter. So, it was just a good series, and I can't wait for this one tonight and the other ones to come.
Yeah, it would just be nice to see the Marlins build a little momentum, get some guys playing well. You see the up and down with Brinson, where he has a great game and then he strikes out a bunch the next game, and it's kind of like, okay, that's who this guy is. But it's nice to see him producing a little more than we've gotten used to with him, to the point where he's got an OPS up near 700, which, isn't much, but it's a lot better than what we've seen in the past. But I mean, this division is just so crazy right now. You look at it, and the Mets are 4 games over 500. The Marlins are 15 games under 500, and they're 9.5 games out, which is just unbelievable to me. But Alex, when you kind of look at what the Marlins are doing right now, obviously that 9.5 games, is a mountain too tall to climb with the current roster. But just, overall, what do you think the Marlins, these kids, are gaining from this experience right now?
Yeah, well, first off, Ethan, congrats on the new gig that you got. I saw that on Twitter.
Thank you.
Some good news. Thanks again for having me back. Yeah, that was awesome, dude. So congrats on that. But yeah,
thank you.
To answer that question, this is what we kind of wanted to see, all along, is these fringe kids, these fringe guys they're doing well in AAA, the high levels of the minors. You want to see them get their shot, right? They're a consistent shot, like not just you come up for a game and you get sent back down like we're seeing still with the pitchers. That is what it is. But you're seeing it with De La Cruz and Jackson. They moved Alfaro to left field to get him time. And De La Cruz, I think, has started every game since he's been here. So, yeah, that's what you want to see is these guys that are right on the cusp getting that full shot. So I'm glad to see it. We've seen some good stuff. I've liked how Jackson, he comes into a brand new organization, and he's catching these guys pretty well. He's out there with a couple of pitchers with his hand on their hip, talking them up during mound visits. So you like to see that form of leadership from him, and he's hit the ball really hard, I think. And then with De La Cruz, I think you see like kind of his makeup coming out early here. He already has like 8 strikeouts in his first like 25, 26 at bats. But he also has 6 hits. So, and he's doing great on defense, by the way, too. There were a couple balls that he ran down. Like I didn't know he was that fast. Like I knew he had decent speed, but I didn't know he was as fast as he is. So yeah, man. 2 guys that we brought back for not much that have been doing pretty well. So, well, not much in terms of service time, with what the Braves are going to get with Duvall. Obviously, it's only 2 months guaranteed. So, yeah, for those return pieces and what we shipped off for them, to see them getting their full shot and performing well, that's exciting to me. I'm glad to see that.
And I forgot to mention,
go ahead.
Luzardo had a really good outing in that first game. So props to him. He had a good game.
I forgot.
Only 3 runs, was it, or 2?
I forgot that was that series, and so I do want to get into this because I wasn't sure if it was the last series or if it was this one. But let's talk about Luzardo. So he goes tomorrow night. It'll be his second start in the Marlins organization, and overall, pretty impressive, right, Isaac?
Yeah, I was actually at the game on Monday. I covered the game on Wednesday. So Luzardo's start, he was pumping 95, 96. Sinker was locating. He could have been better with that for sure. And I saw the sporadic command at times, with the changeup and the off speed for sure. But overall, it was, like 1 or 2 bad innings. But he was able to compose himself and, get the Mets, keep the Mets down and keep the Mets off the board after that tough inning. But no, he looked impressive for sure. The velocity's there. The stuff is there. So it's just all about harnessing it and going from there. So it was really definitely encouraging to see.
Yeah, I think the thing I thought was, you can see what the Marlins can do with this guy, right? He's got the stuff clearly. The command got a little loose. Like when the command is sharp, he's fantastic. He has that great first inning. He strikes out Pete Alonso with a nasty changeup on the outside corner. Looked like somebody in the show dotting corners. But I mean, so he's got that, and then he comes out in the second inning and he's wild. He lets up a run, lets up a few hits. Some walks. And so you see that when the command is sharp, he's great. And when the command is off, he's not great. And I really thought it was more pitchability, that kind of stuff. That was his problem, but clearly it's just kind of the command. So, Alex, when you look at this, we've all said, let Mel Stottlemyre get his hands on this guy. I've talked about this, endlessly since the trade has gone down. And so when you look, are you even more encouraged now after seeing his first start by, what you think Mel can do with this kid?
Yeah, honestly, I think I am because, we heard it from him in the postgame. Ethan, I don't know if you were there, but I think Christina De Nicola asked him about the changeup, and he said that's kind of always been my go-to pitch, but I just got away from my strengths. And, now that I went down to AAA, I'm back here fixing it, and I'm throwing it more and I have more confidence in it. I talked about the repeatability. It looks like he's improving that. And we all know what Mel and that team can do with a changeup. Maybe he can get even better. He's already dotting it pretty well, but maybe he can get, some more movement out of it or some more just consistent command is what you want to see overall. So yeah, to see him incorporate the changeup as much as he did in his first start with the Marlins, that's big. And then he looked pretty damn good to me command wise, especially from where he was in AAA from the couple starts that I went back and watched where he was struggling. So yeah, I think he's answering a lot of questions already in that start. It wasn't perfect. He had his moments as Isaac said. Now going out to Colorado, this is his next test, right? I just looked at, I just looked at his splits, and he, I think, threw one game there from what I saw, and it wasn't good. He faced like 9 batters and allowed 4 hits there. So, I mean, obviously that's 9 batters, and it's a different time now, and hopefully he's this improved guy that we're seeing. But anytime you pitch in cores, it's tough. So it's another good test for him. Hopefully you can do it. I mean, I really liked what I saw from him earlier this week, though. Yeah,
there was some loud contact in Coors that can always come back to bite you. That's always the scariest thing is when you see hard contact and then your next start is in Coors Field. You're like, oh, boy, that ball might get out of there in Coors versus Marlins Park. But, Kev, I'm going to come to you here. So, okay, we all kind of said on the show, like, 5 innings, 3 runs, and then and that would look good. I think he went 5 innings, allowed 3 runs. He struck out 5. And then I think it was like 5 hits and 3 walks. So obviously, it was really like 2 bad innings. The rest were pretty solid for him. So overall, when you're sitting there and thinking, were you surprised, or were you just kind of your expectations were met?
I kind of found it funny that I said, 2-3 runs is okay. He actually allowed only 3 runs, so kind of found it was kind of funny to me. The 5 innings, I think we all expected that at some point, unless it just went horribly wrong that they just bombed. They just started hitting bombs on this guy, which didn't happen. So overall, I'm excited about this guy. This is the first of many great starts for Jesus Luzardo. Who this guy's just going to be an absolute stud on this team. Maybe the 3rd or 4th pitcher coming in. No, not the 3rd, because you have Trevor and Pablo, but maybe the 4th or 5th guy coming off of that rotation next year. Let's see what happens, man. Tomorrow's going to be a huge start for him. He's going to Coors Field. We know what happens in Coors Field. Bombs just go out of that ballpark, man. It's gonna be a good start, and it's not a good Colorado team, even though they have Trevor Story on that team, and Charlie Blackmon. But besides that, it should be interesting tomorrow for Luzardo. But yeah, he met our expectations, at least mine, for his first start. We wanted to see him 5 innings. We got the 5 innings. He didn't give up more than 3 runs. So good start. Let's keep it going with that.
It's definitely a big challenge, and it'll be, kind of how can you answer that first good one? You made a first good impression. Now, how can you back that up? The other thing I want to talk about from this Met series is Trevor was back on the mound, and, he had been down on the IL with some back problems. He looked pretty good. He allowed some runs. It was kind of that same Trevor that we've seen a lot of recently, which is he doesn't bring his best stuff, but he's still pretty effective. So that we've seen a lot of that in the back half of the season, and all of a sudden, this kid in Cincinnati, Jonathan India, and this kid in Chicago, Patrick Wisdom, are getting really hot. And you're looking at the fact that Trevor's innings are probably going to be limited in the back half of the season, and that Rookie of the Year campaign might be slipping away a little bit. But what did you see Isaac coming back off the injury from Trevor, and then what are you looking for going forward? He doesn't pitch in this series, but he will pitch in the next one in San Diego.
Right. If I'm not mistaken, his last start was against the Yankees, correct?
Yeah.
Oh, was it? Oh, whoops.
Yeah.
I don't think we talked about it on the last series.
Right. No, but to answer your
Yeah.
question, no, I think he's still, ahead of the game in the Rookie of the Year race. I don't think that's what the Marlins are thinking about right now. But India's had a phenomenal season, and that kid just hits a lot. I know you love him from your UF days. But no, I think Trevor still has that. He's in first place in that race, and I will see him pitch in this series, in Colorado series for sure. So that's gonna be another good test. It'll be a fun series for sure, seeing our 3 big guys.
India was the guy I wanted, and then he was so good his senior year. That was my freshman year at UF. He was so good that year that he just like rocketed right up boards and didn't have a chance at him. But Kev, with Trevor going forward, just kind of your thoughts on where he's at, what you've seen from him, in the back half of this year.
It's been not what we saw in the first half of the season. Let's be honest. I mean, he's been getting a lot of, how can we say this, less workload, because Marlins aren't competing for anything right now. I do it would be nice for him to win Rookie of the Year, but it just wouldn't mean much for me if he didn't win it. I think what's more important right now for him is to get that World Series with the Marlins, or even just in general, try to make the playoffs. So for Trevor right now, it's just trying to get those starts in, trying to get innings in, just and if he gets Rookie of the Year, he gets it. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But 2022 is the big year for the Marlins after those Twitter spaces with Craig, which are absolutely insane. There's a lot more to think about than a Trevor Rogers Rookie of the Year award.
And of course, World Series is down the line. I think we should clarify. I don't think anybody thinks here that the Marlins are going to be looking towards the World Series this year.
They're not winning the World Series in like 5 years.
But Alex, what do you kind of think he has to do to get back on track? He hasn't really been himself recently. It's been, again, a lot of these. He doesn't have his best stuff, but he's still effective. So what do you kind of think he has to do to bring his best stuff back?
Yeah, that Yankee start was not fantastic. I mean, anytime you walk Giancarlo Stanton, you don't have your best stuff, clearly. So and he had a home run that was turned into a double somehow. That was I think an umpire challenge in that game. That's a tough lineup to face, man, with all that they brought in, with Gallo and everybody else. So that's tough. That's a tough test for anybody, to go up against those hitters. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just a testament to him going through his ups and downs, and every player is going to do this here, especially as you get later in the season. This is still a rookie, as great as he's been. This is still a guy that's making his way, that needs to learn how to get through the bumps, and he's done it pretty well. I mean, he's had a couple outings, probably only 3, including that Yankee start that I can recall where he really looked like that, and then he came right back from it. So his first start of the year, not great. I think he had another one mixed in, and then this Yankee start, obviously not great. I think it's just another learning curve for him, man. And honestly, with the way he bounced back from those last 2 rough starts, I have no doubt that he'll do it again. Even though he's pitching, I believe in San Diego now against, it's going to be a pretty another rough test, but at least it's Petco Park, and I guess he doesn't have to take on Coors, so I guess that's the plus. And he doesn't have to take on the Yankees, but he has to take on Tatis and everything else that they have at San Diego. So, it's just a guy that had a rough night. Honestly, I have no doubt that he'll bounce back. This guy's been great 90% of the year. So,
all right, the next thing I wanted to get to from this, from the past series or two is obviously the Marlins haven't had Don Mattingly, so the lineups have looked very different than what we're used to. And I think it's produced a lot of really good results for some of these guys. Obviously the Marlins in that game against the Mets, I can't remember which one it was, where it was the Luzardo game where they go up, first 3 guys get on, and then Brinson brings them around on a grand slam, and everybody's freaking out. He had a nice series. Isan was hitting more towards the top of the lineup. He had a nice series. Alfaro playing in left field had some nice hits. So 3-3, as Eli's about to put this stat up there, 3-3 with James Rosen as the acting manager. So I'm curious, what have you guys thought about the lineup, the way the lineups have been set up? The way that, it might be benefiting some guys. And then, it's like, what's the point of talking about Brinson necessarily? But he has looked a lot better. And so I'm curious what you guys think about how this is sustainable in terms of him turning into a productive 4th outfielder or something like that. His development could still come, maybe not that obviously not that star player that we thought, 3-4 years ago, but just how you think he can still contribute to this team, Isaac.
I mean, the one encouraging thing about this series and the fact that he was playing well is that the Mets are playing to win. They're being competitive. They're trying their hardest to win ball games right now. At this point in the season, they're only a half game ahead of the Phillies right now. So they're pitching their best guys. Miguel Castro, Luke. They're pitching their best guys against this team, and they're hitting well. Diaz, I wouldn't really have him in the 2 spot anymore. That's just my personal preference. But I think they're putting Brian De La Cruz in a really good spot to succeed. I like him in the lower half of the order, 5th, 6th, in the middle of the order, really. But Brinson is really showing up and hitting the ball to the opposite field, and it's really good to see from him as well, and also in clutch situations, which it's even harder.
Alex, I'm curious, as somebody, you followed these guys for years and years. Obviously, I followed Isan a ton when he was coming up as well. It's been a little better recently. I'm still not necessarily ready to go all in and say that he'll turn a corner and become the great player that we thought he was. But I'm just curious, what have you seen change? What have you seen from Brinson change? Has it just been nerve settling? Has it been an adjustment at the plate? What have you seen from them recently to the point where they've been better recently?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just to give the easy answer, I think it's just a confidence thing. I mean, Isan is a guy who lost that job to Jazz Chisholm outright from spring training. Since then, he's been kind of back and forth, up and down, here and there, AAA, back and forth. Like I just said, it's just getting used to where you're playing and getting your confidence back. And I really think that hit him hard. I think Brinson's no different. Like, as upbeat of a guy as that is, he sees what everybody says about him. He sees that people are saying that, oh, this guy sucks, this guy that. And players that are competitors are going to feel that kind of pressure, man. So, that is what it is. I mean, it's a mindset thing. Honestly, I think is honestly what it is. And then it's, like I said, it's just the comfortability of playing in the same place. So I really haven't seen anything different in terms of mechanical adjustments from Brinson or really Isan at all. Since, the last time I saw them play in AAA till now. But man, I mean, these guys have always had this kind of talent. It's just been the consistency and putting it on display. So hopefully that's coming. It's cool to see after he hits that grand slam, I think was that the first or second game of the series, Rouse says, screw it, and puts him up in the 3 spot. So he promotes him to the 3 spot. So why not right now? Give that guy some more confidence. He's playing higher up in the lineup. That'll help a guy like that at this point in his career. So like to see things like that from Rouse, and I've really had no complaints about him. He seems like a super nice dude. I've actually never met him in person, but seems like a nice guy. We wish Don Mattingly will come back as soon as possible, but I think this guy's doing just fine for a team that's in this position.
And to add on that, he's actually a phenomenally nice guy. I was fortunate enough to be part of the media that he had, and boy, is he just a phenomenally nice guy, awesome. Surprisingly so.
So Brinson tonight hitting cleanup, Isan hitting right behind him. Alfaro is not in the lineup tonight, but De La Cruz is slotted into that 6th spot where we've seen him a lot. Kev, I'm curious, what have you thought about the lineup recently, and what do you think about the prospects of Brinson and Isan possibly contributing, down the stretch a little bit?
Yeah, first with Brinson and Isan, they're going to be getting a lot of playing time now, especially at this point of the season. And keep Brinson at cleanup hitter if that's where he's hitting best. Keep him in the 3, the 4 spot. I mean, he had a great series against the Mets, let's be honest. There's no other way to put it. This guy actually played good baseball. And with Isan, it's just been good. I mean, he hasn't been horrible. He hasn't been bad. He's just been mediocre, I could say. I mean, he's not going to win the starting job anytime soon. He's never going to win a starting job back with the Marlins, but he's going to be in the bench and he's going to help the team do what they have to. And right now, he's in that spot where he could help. He's been pretty good at third base, if I'm correct. That's where he's been lately. But with the Marlins in the lineup, I do like what Rosen is doing. I could see he's putting in Alfaro left field and then adding either Alex Jackson or Sandy Leon to give Alfaro more opportunities, I guess, to get at bats and to have guys like Sandy Leon who works very well with the pitchers. So it just gives an opportunity, I guess, to add Alfaro in there just to get some offense going, which he had a good series against the Mets. And then with Sandy Leon there behind the plate, which is probably the best catcher to work with when it comes to like guys like Trevor Rogers and all these young guys, and Luzardo, which I'm pretty sure Leon was the catcher for Luzardo that first game he was in Miami. So yeah, I'm liking what Rosen is doing, and it's just a new style of baseball for us to see with these lineups.
Yeah, and the thing I'm kind of is like, okay, we're really going to roll with Alfaro in left field. Like we talked about this last time. Where's Brian Miller? I'm going to push this again. Where the hell is Brian Miller? Like, it's just ridiculous at this point to, see him go out there and struggle and play a position. Like, why are we getting him? Why are the Marlins trying to get him at bats when? What are we doing? When we don't think he's a part of. All signs point to the fact that he's not part of the plans for next year. He's playing a position that he's never played before. There's no point in him playing it. It's like what are we doing here to the point where we can't see what we have in Brian Miller? So I'm not really on the same page with what's going on with Alfaro right now. It's I feel for the guy. It's been such a struggle and it's been hard to watch at times, obviously. But I mean, I think the Marlins are doing a good job with like guy like De La Cruz finding. I was talking about this on the podcast that Eli and I did yesterday, kind of backing, solidifying the back end of the roster, right? So like the depth is starting to increase a little bit. You're doing a lot better if Brian De La Cruz is your 4th outfielder than, if Sierra or Brinson or some of these guys that they've had in the past are being your 4th outfielder. And that's why they, fans want to see guys like Brigman and Dunan and that kind of stuff in the back half of this season. I don't know. I guess what I really wanted to talk about tonight is De La Cruz, and I think we've talked about him a little bit, but we didn't really see that much the last time we talked. So now we've seen a little more. He's played every game since he's come over. He's been in right field every game. Obviously, been super impressive defensively. So, first impressions, Isaac, and what you want to see from him going forward to make more improvement to say this kid can really be a contributor on this team going forward.
Well, to finish off what we were saying about Miller, like you said, all points say that he's not going to be here next year, Alfaro. And, internally they've moved on. So I don't understand if they've internally moved on, why are they making him grab an outfield glove and put him in left field? I don't understand it. It was also peculiar to me that Corey Bird was designated. I'm sure he'll clear, so who knows if he'll be back. But I thought that was interesting. But what are you losing instead of having Brian Miller in left field every single day rather than Jorge Alfaro? But anyway, but to answer your question about De La Cruz, I've been impressed. I don't think he's going to be, a 300 hitter with 20 home runs or anything, but I think he'll be a solid 4th outfield option, a guy that will give you good at-bats. And if, for example, if we're in the 2022 season in July and one of our outfielders goes down, you're in a lot better situation to have him fill in for a little bit rather than Brinson or Sierra. So I've been impressed with the defense. He's got a little bit of an arm as well. Good at-bats always. He strikes out a little bit, but really I got 24%, I think, so far. So I was really impressed with him. And you got something for nothing, like Craig says. Yep. So I like it.
Yeah, I thought they did really good. And also, I do love this fact that's on the screen right now, which is that his middle name is Starling. I thought that was hilarious. It was like, Marte was traded, and then right after him, he was traded, and this guy comes in, and his name is Starling. So I thought that was hilarious. But, Alex, I think the one thing I want to see from him is a little more pop, right? To the point where you say this guy could be an everyday outfielder. Otherwise, you're looking at that fourth outfielder type. But it's been good for the Marlins to get him a look, right? Like, you can't overstate how valuable that is for him and for the organization.
Yeah, and it's real power. It's real raw power, I should say, 60 grade raw power. So that's great. And Jackson's even better. I mean, I know we're talking about De La Cruz, but Jackson per Fangraphs has 70 grade raw power, which is elite. So both of these guys definitely have the potential to hit for a ton of power. With De La Cruz, he's definitely done it in his minor league career. 12 home runs this year is pretty good. 8 before that, which is decent. So, the power is there, and the doubles power is definitely there. But yeah, it's possible. It's just that he needs to tone down on the strikeouts, like Isaac said. And that we've already seen that a little bit here in his small time with the Marlins. I think he's swung at some bad pitches, but other than that, I mean, he's shown that he can also get hits. He also I think he has 6 hits. I said so far. Mm-hmm. So it's a very small sample size so far, but I think this is the guy that this is. It's not your 300 hitter. It's not your even probably a 280 hitter. They could probably looking around like 250, 260. But like you said, if he can put that game or raw power into game power and get into double-digit home runs, that's a guy that could turn into to a starter. Will that happen? I guess we have to see, and he will get the chance to do so. He will be starting probably the rest of the year in right field as well as Jackson behind the plate. So they're going to get their chance, and we'll see how they can make their good seasons both of them. De La Cruz.
You got 240, hitting 240 so far, no power. All of his hits have been singles. He doesn't have an extra base hit yet. So I'm looking for him to tap into that, especially at Coors Field, because he has hit the ball hard. But at Coors Field, you're really looking for him to put a ball in a gap. But I think it's been one of the more encouraging debuts where he looks comfortable at the plate, kind of. He's not, all over the place like we've seen from some of the debuts. Obviously, this guy we all thought was major league ready when he came over, and that's why I kind of said, okay, this probably means that Duvall is moving on. So Kev, has this guy obviously he's impressed us, but has he do you think he's gotten better, each night out?
Oh yeah, for sure. This guy's been impressive. I'm a fan of the guy. I'm not gonna say this guy's, as you guys mentioned, is gonna be like an all-star kind of player, but this is a pretty good guy that the Marlins got back for Yimi Garcia, who gave up a homer in his first game as a Houston Astros. So something funny to mention there. But, I mean, yeah, this guy's it's been impressive. He has speed. He has great defensive abilities. And he's just hitting, man. And if we get this from Brian De La Cruz, who, as you guys mentioned, once again, he's going to play right field. There's no way he gets replaced unless he gets injured or just goes on a huge slump. But this guy's impressive. I like what I've seen from him. I'm not going to say he's the future outfielder for the Miami Marlins, which is not going to happen, but he's going to be that guy who you're going to see on the bench. Not trying to diss this guy or nothing, but he's going to be that guy who's going to be a defensive replacement. Or you could even see him kind of with the Marlins with Monte last year, putting him in as a base runner whenever needed. And he's going to replace a lot of guys on this team. I can mention a couple guys he could replace on this team right now, but yeah, I like De La Cruz.
Yeah, no, I'm in terms of, everybody wants that all-star in the trade, right? Whenever you get a prospect, you always want him to be an all-star. But sometimes guys turn into fourth or fifth outfielders, and they can be productive fourth or fifth outfielders. And the Marlins, if they're building for 2022, they are going to need a, fourth outfielder, a productive guy off the bench, some more depth. That's something that we've talked about a lot, is they've just really been lacking in the depth department, all year. Think about early on when all the injuries were happening and how much we talked about how the lack of depth and how they're so, thin on the bench, and it's really coming back to, bite them. And now all of a sudden, if you're turning to Alex Jackson as a backup catcher, who, we still need to figure out because, hasn't played a ton, and we know about the power. Don't think he's really going to hit for a lot of average, but still could be a more productive option than some of the catching options that they've had in the past. Peyton Henry is right on the verge. He's the guy that they acquired in the Curtis trade. De La Cruz. So you're looking at just improving the back end of the roster, which is, I think, what the Marlins did a lot at the trade deadline. It's not sexy, nobody's going to get super excited about improving the back end of the roster, but I still do think that they did a nice job doing that, especially for what they gave up. And To answer the question, I guess this is a good chance to give some injury updates. Jesus Sanchez is in return to play protocol still. Don't really know what the steps are. I imagine he'll probably go on a rehab assignment to get some swings. It would probably make sense for him to meet up with the team in Miami and get some swings in while he's at Jupiter. He's in Jupiter at the complex, so it would make some sense for him to get swings in while they're on the road. My guess would be that he returns to the team when they come back to Miami for the Cubs series. That's not necessarily an informed guess, but that's just implying based off the way they've handled things this year. Pablo threw a bullpen today. That was certainly really encouraging as he tries to work back. I don't really know a timetable there, but it seems like that's moving in the right direction. And then I can't remember. There was a couple other.
Castano threw a rehab start.
Yeah,
today.
he's starting with
had a bullpen.
Yeah, he's throwing a rehab assignment with Jacksonville. Cody Poteet will rehab again with Jacksonville on Sunday. Eliezer moved up to Jacksonville. He'll be there again on Tuesday. So a bunch of rehab starts coming for the Marlins as some of these pitchers work their way back in. And all of a sudden, you're going to get a little crowded in the starting rotation again, where you have Luzardo and you have Sandy, and then Pablo will be back. Trevor's healthy. And now where do you go with Thompson and Poteet and Neidert and who's the other one that I'm missing? Castano is working his way back as well, and Eliezer. So there's going to be an overload all of a sudden with the arms in the starting rotation. So it'll be interesting to see how the Marlins handle that going forward. And then obviously I think the one we're all kind of looking for is, when does Eddie Cabrera come up? I think we all expect that, at some point in the back half of the season. And so I guess we can kind of go towards a little minor leagues right now as we just kind of hunt for content. But Alex, I'm just curious, Eddie recently, give us a little update on where he's been at. I know he's in AAA with Jacksonville. Just, overall how he's been performing. And then when you think, we all have talked about the excitement that will come in the back half of the season is seeing a lot of these guys. So, how possible do you think it is that we see Eddie?
Man, first of all, I don't think that they can take playing time away from any of these starters. Like Zach Thompson is the fifth starter right now, I believe, and I don't think you can. Well, he would be if everybody gets healthy. Like he's probably the fifth guy. I don't think you can take starts away from him because he's been so damn good. So yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know. If we will, just because if everybody is healthy, if you talk about Luzardo now coming in, talk about Trevor, if Pablo gets healthy again, Sandy, and then Thompson, how do you fit somebody in? Unless we see him maybe out of the bullpen, which but I honestly doubt it. I think they want to see him continuing to start. So honestly, I don't know if everybody's healthy, Ethan. If somebody goes down again, hopefully not, but if somebody gets hurt, then for sure, yes. Maybe when rosters expand, that would be my best guess. Roster expansion, you could see Eddie come up and get a start or two. That would be my best guess, but he's doing pretty good. I can give you the numbers on his last start, which was July 30th. That was 4.2 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run. Oh, and by the way, 12 strikeouts. So not too bad. Not too terrible.
Too shabby. Yeah, no, not too shabby there.
That's a career high, by the way. So doing pretty well. Not bad. And with the length, you see 4.2 innings. It's not 5. He almost went 5, but I think they still have that pitch count a little bit on him a little bit since the injury. So, yeah, I think he's pretty much ready to go if the Marlins need him, but I really doubt it until rosters expand.
Well, I think Kim Ang was asked about this a while back, and she said we want him, when he's ready, we want him here to stay. He's going to be here to stay. So bullpen, I'm not sure that's an option because they're not going to be in it.
Yeah, I doubt it.
So, that's kind of they're going to want him to start. But one interesting option could be they're obviously going to try and stretch Trevor out. So do you move to a 6-man rotation at the back end to kind of preserve Trevor, preserve Sandy, preserve Pablo? I think Sandy's going to cruise to 200 innings, so it won't be a problem if you delay him, with him trying to get to that goal. But, Isaac Thompson, like Alex mentioned, Thompson has been so good, and now all of a sudden the Marlins are kind of crunch. So how do you handle this rotation going forward?
I was going to say that I think, with Trevor, they're going to definitely want to limit his innings a lot. So you're definitely have opportunities to throw Edward in there for a couple starts, maybe even before September. Thompson, he's going to be starting every 5th day. I think they really want to see what they actually have. I know we keep saying that every time out, but it just keeps impressing us. So yeah, I think he'll be starting every 5th day, in my opinion. Neidert and Braxton are the other two odd men out. I don't think we're going to see Pablo for a little bit, even though he threw a 20-pitch bullpen today. So I'd assume they're going to find ways. They could do the 6-man rotation thing. I don't know how Mattingly feels about that. It's sort of like a manager's preference. But I think they can do it whenever they want. I think they want Edward maybe like 2 or 3 more good starts at AAA or at AA. And I think that's when we'll see him soon, hopefully. But yeah, no, I don't think they're too worried about maybe taking away a start from Nick Neidert or Braxton Garrett for that matter, honestly. So I would say late August, maybe early September for Edward.
I just wrote down 11 names. So Sandy, Pablo, Trevor, Luzardo, Thompson, Eliezer, Poteet, Braxton Garrett, Eddie Cabrera, Castano, and Neidert.
You know,
that's 11 names that you could possibly put into the rotation.
Yeah.
So
and talking about this made me remember how many freaking pitches we lost to injury so early. Like I forgot, holy
it's crazy.
Shit. Castano got out of nowhere when he was like our last guy. Castano, Poteet freaking got injured. Like it's crazy how many injuries this pitching staff has had.
And remember, there was a time where people were talking about the Marlins pitching depth at the major league level isn't as great as we thought it was. And now with the emergence of Thompson, with the acquisition of Luzardo, Neidert has been solid in his last few starts. Brax has been better in his last few starts. I'm still not necessarily sold. Poteet, emerged, got hurt. Not sure where that's going to go. Eliezer was good in Pittsburgh, and then he got hurt again, which was just the craziest thing you could ever imagine. And then you've got the stud, the future ace by, many people's accounts. Kevin told me he's his number one prospect. I might agree with him in the Marlins system, Eddie Cabrera. And you're looking at it, and it's just like, where do you go? So 11 arms that could be in contention, and there's 5 spots. And I doubt they're going to move Luzardo down. They definitely want to see him at the major league level. Like Alex and you guys and Isaac, you guys said, Thompson's going to start every 5th day. He's been so good. You're not going to fuck with the big 3, So it's where do you go? And there's a lot of innings to be had. All of a sudden, they have a big inning problem right now. With all these guys coming back, they're not going to have that big inning problem anymore where they need to be eating innings. So I don't know, man. It's interesting. Kev, what are your thoughts, man?
I don't know, man. It's pretty hard to choose, all these absolute great talents. I don't know if you included Sixto, even though he's injured, but he should be ready by next season, if I'm correct. But,
that's an even more interesting conversation is what's your 5 for next year?
Yeah, it's going to be hard, man. And, you said don't fuck with the big 3, but that was exactly what I was going to go with. If you want to do it for this year, I would shut down at least one of the 3. Maybe Pablo's the more obvious guy to shut down, just so you don't re-injure him or whatever happens. And then that's when you could maybe put Eddie Cabrera on, or when rosters expand is probably one of the most obvious times to bring up a lot of these guys. But you could maybe trade Eliezer. I mean, it hurts to say it, but even though he's extremely injury prone, this guy gets, I don't blame him the second time getting injured. That was just a stupid ass rule of the MLB putting pitchers to bat. But it's besides that, I mean, I don't even know what to do, man. There's so many guys. Castano, I think, is one we could move on from. Eddie Cabrera needs to be in this pitching rotation next season. Luzardo's probably going to be in there. I don't know if maybe they move Thompson to bullpen. It's going to be difficult, man, because that big 3 of Pablo, Sandy, and Trevor, and then you just have 2 other spots. That's the thing. 2 other spots, and maybe 6. You have so many options. I don't know if you want to do 6-man rotation, which I don't think I've really ever seen. But
not for a full season, definitely. Nobody really goes with a 6-man rotation for a full season. You might see it would be crazy. You might see, but the Marlins, you could make an argument that they could benefit from it because they have so many arms and they've got to find ways to get all these guys innings. Obviously, go ahead.
What's encouraging is that like for next year, preferably, you're gonna have your 5. You're gonna have those big 3, one of Sixto and Jesus Luzardo most likely. You have all those 6 other names that you had mentioned, Ethan. Like us, now we have depth. This year it was more Armando coming up. You have all these guys coming up, bullpen games. Next year, like maybe you move on from 1 or 2 of them. But next year we shouldn't have that problem of a bunch of bullpen games every 2 times through the rotation.
Right.
I see us having actual depth in the rotation for next year, and that's going to be big.
No, that's a great point because
don't be surprised if some of these guys go to the bullpen, like Castano maybe goes to the bullpen on the Marlins. I'm not going to say Thompson as the odd man out because that guy's been phenomenal. There's no other way to put it. Poteet could be an option. I mean, those guys who just maybe don't have a spot in that rotation could for sure help in the bullpen, which has been a struggle because they had the revamped bullpen, which did not do much. But maybe those starters that just are absolutely on fire, like Poteet, Thompson, they could go into a bullpen role, maybe long innings they could pitch, and
I didn't
maybe
even
something like that happens.
I didn't even mention Jordan Holloway.
Oh yeah,
And then you've got Max, you've got Eater. One guy that I think could be a bullpen candidate is Eliezer. I also think he's a trade candidate. I've said this a lot before. But fastball slider mix was so deadly, and we just don't know about where the change. We think the changeup is coming along. We think it'll be effective, but we just don't really know. So I think that he can definitely be a good option for the bullpen. Max with that big fastball wipeout slider could be an option, long term out of the pen. But I think obviously everybody wants to see him as a starter. So
He'll be on the Angels next year.
As
that's
talking,
of course possible. Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
As we're talking, Jordan McPherson just printed an article for the Miami Herald. He talked to Mel Stottlemyre before the game. And the quote from Mel Stottlemyre re Trevor Rogers is that he looks forward to having him in September and making all 5 of his starts at least. And it's a 175 innings limit, and he's only at, I think, 110. So does Trevor miss any starts? And now he misses last start. He should miss, I think, one more with what he's dealing with his family, a family emergency. So maybe he doesn't miss any time. And then, how do you get these guys innings that you want to see, like Eddie and other guys? So it's going to be interesting.
I think Isaac made a great point, which is next year, you don't have to go to bullpen games. You've got your 5, and then you've got 5, 6, 7 more in AAA, and you say, okay, Neidert, we need you. Brax, we need you. Poteet, we need you. Whatever the case may be. And that's much better than what they were doing, where they were running these bullpen games out there 2-3 times, 1-2 times a week. And man, they've got an overload. And then, you get down into it, and you have, like I said, Max and Eater and McCambly and Nicholas and Yuri, and it's just an overload. It's an absolute overload. MD Johnson, you want to talk about all these guys. Like, it's crazy. So, Kev, what were you saying?
Yeah, and then this brings the conversation of who's going to be gone. I mean, they're trying to bring in players like a center fielder, for example. They're Brian Reynolds, Max Kepler, whoever, maybe Brandon Marsh. We talked about. Who are they going to give up? I mean, that's the question, because it's going to be a pitcher. There's no way they give up so many position players, because pitching is an overload. Outfield was an overload, not too much anymore. It's kind of dead now. But besides that, pitching is probably what's going to go. And I don't know. It's going to be that 2020 draft class, as we mentioned many times.
It's crazy. No, it's crazy. I'm looking at this right now. 12 names for 5 spots. It's just crazy. But
and all the prospects.
And I actually Sixto's not even on this list, so it's really 13. So it's really crazy. For trying to find 5 next year. But anyway, let's get going. Let's start looking ahead. 15 minutes until first pitch out in Denver, Colorado at Coors Field. The Rockies, obviously, it's been a struggle for them. They held on to Trevor Story at the trade deadline. They went anti-Marlins there by not moving on from their valuable expiring contract. They're 21 games out of first place. Obviously, they are in the best division in baseball. They're looking up at the Padres and the Dodgers and the Giants, 3 of the best teams in the league. So it's been a struggle for them. 48-61, actually about the same record as the Marlins. They've got 1 more win and 1 less loss, so they're actually a game better than the Marlins. -50 run differential. It's just kind of one of these teams that you're going to see along the way. I honestly can't say I know that much about them, but obviously it's always fun to watch in Coors Field. So, Isaac, I'm looking at these pitching matchups. Herman Marquez goes tonight against Sandy. That's a great matchup. Austin Gomber, Kyle Freeland on Sunday against Luzardo goes for the Marlins tomorrow. And then there's an open spot right now on Sunday. We'll see about that one. I would have to guess it might be Brax or somebody, but Isaac, when you look at this series again, it's August and it's the Marlins and the Rockies. Thoughts?
Well, I have a question. Is Trevor Story free agent this year at the end of the year?
Trevor Story, I believe, is he's on an expiring contract.
I'd love to hear the reasoning for not trading the guy.
Crazy, right? Crazy, isn't it?
I see that he knows he's not
kind of, they get like a comp pick or something.
Yeah, but I mean, what's a comp pick or a trade package?
Yeah.
Anyway, no, it should be a fun series. Tonight's gonna be a really fun one, I think. Even though it's the course effect, it should be fun with Sandy, a ground ball pitcher-esque kind of guy, and Marquez, their all-star. Tonight's gonna be a fun game. I'd say it's the most fun of the series. Then you have Luzardo, who I just have a negative feeling that he's gonna give up at least one home run tomorrow against the Rockies. But it should be a fun series. Neither team playing for much other than just seeing what they have for next year. But I forgot who tweeted it. The Marlins are 9.5 games back. If they get to like 6.5 games back,
we might get a little interesting here, huh?
I will. I'm prone to heartbreak. I've been a fan since like 2006. So if we get to 6.5 back, I will get emotionally invested again, and I'll be all right. Call up Eddie and Max Meyer right now. But neither team playing for much, and it'll be fun to see these two teams.
Well, you want to look at this. Here come the Marlins are heading out to Colorado for 3 with the Rockies this weekend, obviously, and the Mets, who they just saw, are going up to Philly for 3 with the Phillies, who are the team right behind them. So this, all of a sudden, the division leader can quickly change. The Phillies are, I think you said, Isaac, right, a half game behind the Mets in the division right now. And then I'm looking at I'm a game and a half up on the Braves are the Mets. So it's really tight atop the National League East. And then obviously the Marlins and the Nationals, who just traded their entire team away. And all of a sudden now you're looking at the Marlins should have a really good shot to not finish in last place this year, which would be a big deal. You can make jokes about it, but that would actually, I think, be a big deal for the Marlins to not, to look down and see a team below them. But Kev, if they sweep the Rockies, all of a sudden, they're 6.5 back, depending on how the division goes. So what are you looking at here?
Yeah, just imagine if that actually happens.
It would be crazy. It would get crazy if they just creep back into it.
All of a sudden, they're just
we could all use it. The 4 of us could use it to kind of start getting us a little content. But
it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch.
Eli, you're a madman. Kev, your thoughts on the series coming up?
Yeah, this is one to take advantage of if you're talking competitive wise. But if you're not, I mean, this is just a good series to watch. This Marlins team has been pretty hot lately against the Mets. You saw it. We're gonna get some nice homers in Coors Field. Sweet Lou will hit a home run, hopefully. Not a grand slam, but homer for sure at some point. Besides that, this is gonna be a fun series. New guys we're gonna probably look at some point. We're gonna be seeing maybe a new pitcher that Sunday game. We're going to get the matchup of Sandy versus Marquez, which will be interesting for sure. So, yeah, exciting series. And imagine just the Marlins sweep the Rockies here. That'd be something to watch.
Like I said, it could get fun.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this now, and actually, I completely. Oh, the stat that was on the board here, Eli, if you could put that back up. The Rockies at Coors Field this season are 35-21, and they're 13-40 on the road. That is an insane home road split. So, Alex, what are you kind of looking for? We talk about a lot about how this second half of the season is going to be, this back half of the season actually is going to be about, evaluation. So what do you want to see from guys in this series in a hitter-friendly ballpark, where the ball flies? What are you looking for here?
Yeah, you want to see these guys come out and mash the baseball. In this park, in this environment, against this team, you want to see these guys come out and do well on the offensive side of the baseball, for sure. And then for pitching, it's a challenge for sure. But yeah, you want to see them come out and do really well. You want to see Brinson keep going. You want to see maybe De La Cruz get his first homer with the Marlins, which I think would be his first big league homer. That'd be great. So yeah, I mean, just want to see more of what we saw in this home series from these guys that are on a good roll. Could do a lot for the confidence, as I talked about before. So yeah, you want to see the offense show up for sure. And then on the pitching side, it's like I said, it's a test. But I think with Luzardo again, if he has a similar start, 5 innings and 3 or less earned runs, that's a W in Coors Field. So more of the same, I guess I would say, from what we saw in this last series is what you really want to see.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go to next is Luzardo pitches tomorrow. And I think everybody just for the rest of the season is going to be really excited every time out that he goes out there. So, Kev, I'll go to you. You were spot on. 5 innings. We were all, I guess, kind of spot on. 5 innings, 3 runs last time. So, what do you think he has to build on? What do you think you want to see from him in his second time out that would make you feel like more, even better about this guy?
Maybe a little bit of less struggle at the start, maybe more control with his pitches. That's pretty much about it. I mean, 5 innings. If you keep doing that and maybe allow less than 3 runs, especially in Coors Field, that's pretty good. And I was going to say, when it comes to now watching the Marlins, it's more of like, how do these new guys adapt to the situations they're in? For example, Trevor Rogers is going to go to Petco Park. You're going to face the Padres. How's he going to adapt to that? He faced the Yankees. How is he going to adapt to that? Now it's with Luzardo, this guy we want to see build off of it on each start. So, and De La Cruz too, and maybe Alex Jackson. But, it's going to be interesting to see Luzardo in Coors Field. If he has a good outing, maybe 5 innings, one or two runs off the Rockies, that's a very good outing, especially in Coors Field.
Well, you look at it, and the Marlins are only 2 games out of 4th place.
And I do want to mention what is
go
the
ahead.
record for the Marlins in Coors Field? Someone could find that stat.
It is something I would have to dig into baseball. Something I would have to dig into baseball reference for.
You guys remember that game where they blew like an 8-run lead or something in the 9th in Colorado? I forgot when it was, like 2009. That stadium haunts my dreams.
I just remember my fondest Coors memory is when Giancarlo went out there. He was on a crazy run, and he hit like 4 in 3 games, and one of them went over 500 feet.
Yeah.
And so that's just what I remember. That's one of my fondest memories of Coors Field. I'm trying to find this number for you, Kev. And while I do, Isaac, talk to me about what you want to see from Luzardo tomorrow.
Luzardo just keep the ball in the ballpark as best he can. I was doing some research on his AAA when they sent him down in the middle of this year. He had struggled in his first few outings, but then his last 2 starts before getting traded were actually much better. They're much better, and I guess that was enough to convince the Marlins to trade for him, And I know the Athletics were open to dealing him to other teams. So, a little scary, but, he was trending in the right direction. Then he had a solid start in the major leagues with the Marlins. So just keep the ball in the ballpark, maybe show some length. Maybe, don't throw some crazy, out of the strike zone pitches like he did in his home debut. But no, just quality start would be very nice from him.
Yeah, quality start would always, is always something you're looking for. It's such an objective, marker,
Right.
But it's still something that you always want to see from your pitchers every time out of 6 innings, 3 or less runs. So and Marlins, starters have been putting those up left and right. I definitely expect Sandy to put one up tonight. So, all right, 5 minutes. Let's go ahead. It's prediction time. I didn't get a prediction from Noah, surprisingly, but Kev. He gave you a prediction. Yeah, what was it?
He put it on Twitter. He put 2 out of 3.
Okay, so 2 out of 3 from our optimist Noah Berger. Should be a lot of optimistic predictions here, so I'm going to go around the room. Isaac, go ahead with your prediction.
I say we sweep the guys, bro.
All right.
I say we win all 3. I say Sandy, Luzardo, shove. I think Nick Neidert might be pitching. I think Braxton, when did he was yesterday, right? So I think it would be Nick Neidert pitching on Sunday. So, shit. You know what? Actually, I'm going to say we sweep. I say we win all 3.
Yeah. All right. Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Isaac here. I think they sweep. Last game's a little questionable. I don't know who the pitcher's going to need.
Yeah.
But Sandy and Jesus are just going to shove, as you said. We're probably going to get a better outing from Jesus, Luzardo from the first one. It's going to be a build-off from that. Sandy, as always, is going to do Sandy things if he gets the run support, man, and gets an actual good bullpen to help him out at the end there, because we saw what happened last time. But, yeah, it's going to be a good game. It's the Coors Field effect, and Sweet Lou will hit a home run as a cleanup hitter.
I love this prediction that you keep throwing in here, Kevin. Alex, go ahead with your prediction.
First of all, I just want to say, we should all go play the lottery, because Nick Neidert may get back-to-back starts in the major leagues with the Marlins. So
hey, finally,
it probably will happen. And then if I was just reading through that McPherson report, if Trevor doesn't make the trip out west to San Diego, which the report says that he may miss a couple starts, we know he just missed 1. So they may wait for him to get back to Miami. I don't know. I'm just going by kind of reading through the lines in that report. But so it could be 3 in a row, which then we should all just go by scratch offs. Anyways, to answer your question on this series, man, I like Neidert last time out, man. He pitched into the 6th inning, gave up 3 runs. I like the look of him. So against a down and out Rockies team, I know it's Coors Field, but this offense has been clicking lately. I'm gonna go Isaac. I'm gonna say sweet, man. Let's go.
All right, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to go for the sweep, too. We might as well sweep the house with the predictions. So I'm going to go with the sweep as well. And who knew coming into the day that Noah would be the least optimistic out of the regulars
yeah.
on this show. That
You
is
do owe him an
truly
apology.
incredible. So, anyway, Marlins and Rockies coming up. Sandy is a starter. Kevin, I tried to find that stat for
Okay.
you. Eli, you're dropping in here. You got anything before we head out?
It's Noah.
Oh, that
No, just
Noel-
displaying Noah's prediction so that he's on the screen and he can
Awesome.
see that when he's the only one that's wrong and all of you guys are right, then just
yeah, we'll
displaying
get
it
him.
part of the screen.
We'll get him back for the fact that he was the only one right last time. But anyway, 3 minutes finishing a little early. Let you guys get to the couch. For Eli, for Isaac, for Kevin, for Alex, I am Ethan. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the series. And as always, go fish.
Y'all ready?